If smugness and arrogance cured bigotry, it would be eradicated in one day. And what do you expect for a movement partially sponsored by Pepsi? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org, and in this video, we are going to be examining the effects as well as the potential outcome and results from this movement that we're seeing unfold in front of our very eyes right now. And before talking about that and all the latest information that you need to know, we wanted to remind everyone that YouTube is actively waging a war against independent thought and independent news creators. And because of that, we're supported and here every single day for you because of private business and enterprise that we work with, including this health store that I get some of my supplies from. I use, I think you will too. And if you use it, obviously, this will also support this independent media broadcast. So if you're shopping for any of these items, there's some good deals, good prices on them here, and you should check them out on cleanhealthyhappy.com. The link, of course, will be down in the description down below. Now, obviously, we are in a very, quote, peculiar political time, as we are seeing the breakdown of our political discourse in exchange for violence and mob mentality taking over, as demonstrated in this viral incident that, of course, a lot of people are talking about that took place yesterday in Buffalo, New York, where a 75-year-old peace activist was violently shoved on the ground by riot police, busting open his head, and of course a very disturbing incident, which at first the Buffalo Police Department responded with by saying that this was just an elderly person who tripped and fell, which from the video obviously wasn't the case. The two officers have been suspended and they are being investigated. But that is just one incident of many incidences of violence, which sadly more and more people are advocating for. Not just people on the right, but also of course people on the left, including major media institutions like State, just blatantly saying that violence is an important tool. And with this kind of bastardized, idiotic, low IQ thinking, what we are seeing here is initially people just arguing which set of thugs they should be supporting, which again absolutely benefits no one except for the state and also glass companies. And it's clear a lot of people want violence, a lot of people are calling for race wars, a lot of politicians, just like they do every 4 years, try to weaponize this movement for their own personal benefit. And with this violent cycle already continuing, already being spun, that already was being pushed by the mainstream media, social media, a lot of big bureaucrats that were fanning the flames of this for years now, which we've been calling out. For right now, it looks like the situation is going to continue to spiral out of control, as of course there's going to be more incidences of violence against police officers. Police officers are going to use their own violence. People are only going to highlight one side of this, since of course in a war, truth is the first casualty. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, especially with crazy incidences even happening in Mexico, where a police officer was lit on fire. Again, I'm not going to show any of the disturbing videos here on this YouTube channel. If you want to see the videos that I talked about and mention here, check out my Twitter account, twitter.com/LukeWeAreChange. I'm doing a lot of work specifically here. So if you want to see any of those videos, they will be available on there, which will be linked in the description as well. In LA, police officers even shot a homeless person with a rubber bullet in an extremely grotesque action against someone very vulnerable. And as more innocent people get rounded up, arrested, mistreated, violently abused, this of course will radicalize them and create a cycle that of course we went into great lengths talking about in yesterday's video. So I won't dwell on that too much, but we have to ask ourselves, what does this kind of movement want or call for? Well, on the official BlackLivesMatter.com website, which some people purport to be responsible for a representation of this movement, which also should be questioned, there's a lot of generalized language about justice, mention, of course, about Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, talk of immigration status, transgenders, dismantling the, quote, cisgender privilege. And very interestingly, here at the bottom, it talks about disrupting the, quote, Western prescribed nuclear family. And of course, they talk about building a village here, but when it comes to disrupting the nuclear family, which again, this is strange. This should be strange for everyone else, since the breaking down of the family unit leads to significant destruction in our society. If an individual doesn't have a family, he will depend on obviously an outside entity, which could mean government or corporation that they will become dependable on. But again, with such vague language, generalization, a lot of this is left up to interpretation, and of course the multinational corporate globalist space fully is supporting this, as many top corporations in the world are bombarding you with these messages that, in my opinion, don't have anything concrete behind them. What do we have as the result of them? Well, we have this utter lunacy of now Lego announcing that they are getting rid of all products which include police officers. Yes, that's how Lego is going to deal with this problem. And of course, this kind of talk is not isolated in itself, as even there has been major pushes to shut down all police movies and TV shows right now. And is this really the result that is going to make any significant change? Is this why people are in the streets? Obviously not, but with such generalized language, you're going to have a lot of the establishment and globalist multinational corporate space jump right on top of it and claim it as theirs. And this is also another aspect why it's ridiculous to see some actors saying that they don't know if they will have a career if they support this movement, as obviously all of Hollywood, the mainstream media, and big corporations are fully behind it, while, of course, totally ignoring the real elephant in the room and the real bigotry that exists in this world. Why? Because it enriches them. If it enriches them to stay silent about injustice, they will do it. If it's going to enrich them, if they promote it, dividing and conquering you, they will do it as well. And the support of this movement is definitely worth considering, as even government officials are explicitly encouraging this movement with representative acts like this, as the city of Washington, D.C. decided to paint Black Lives Matter onto the street leading to the White House. In New York City, the public Wi-Fi tax-funded booths are listing names of murdered Black Americans. Street signs are being changed. People are virtual signaling. But is that actually going to do anything? Is that going to address the horrible war on drugs, the wealth inequality, the destruction of the middle class, the evisceration of any possibility of economic freedom, or the destruction of our civil liberties? No, it's not. Now, with such a big movement, with such generalized language, this is why I've been warning from the very beginning of co-opting. Now, we shouldn't also throw the baby out with the bathwater, and also understand that there are some legitimate, peaceful, good people a part of this movement that have been pushing against the violence and have some legitimate concerns. There has been a conversation started about holding our government bureaucratic fat cats accountable along with law enforcement, since of course whatever mistakes or criminal actions these two institutions cause, it's always the people paying to fix them, and there isn't a lot of accountability, and I think that's very clear. In Colorado, they're pushing for laws that would hold police departments accountable for their actions. There is a movement to defund the police, which is actually gaining support, which already has been instituted in some counties across America. Now, of course, a lot of right-wingers are already reacting to this, saying, how could we defund the police after massive violence that took over this nation? And as outraged as they are by this, they should be just as outraged about how some police departments stood down and didn't act against criminal elements, especially here in New York City, where the NYPD has a yearly operating budget of $6 billion, would it be, dollars, close to 40 1,000 police officers, spying capabilities on par with the CIA, and also established covert double agents all over the world. And you're telling me the #1 police department in this world, arguably, when it comes to money and manpower, allowed something like this to happen? It should raise a lot of questions and concerns and interesting debates, especially with Republicans that don't like big government, don't like bureaucracies, since of course in this egregious case we have 6 billion tax dollars going to a local police department that wants to play like it's the CIA. All of this enabled by, of course, buffoon politicians, and we have to understand many police departments, there is an extreme amount of waste. Let's not lie about that fact. If you look at Los Angeles, for instance, where the buffoon mayor there is now redirecting $250 million from the LAPD towards initiatives that he deems worthy. Again, I would rather the government not steal the money in the first place from its citizenry, but when we look at the LAPD's budget, it is also in the billions, and that $250 million is still very insignificant compared to its overall incredibly high budget. In Minneapolis, the city council is actually talking about disbanding the police force, which could give rise to private police departments, which there is some preliminary data coming out of Detroit showing that it might be the possible better thing to do. Now, of course, I have my own personal beliefs on this situation, but what are yours? What do you think of these moves? What do you think of these declarations? Are they the right ones to make now? Do you support them? Do you not? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Is this one thing that you think is an issue worth addressing? These are the conversations that I think are legitimate and worthy to have right now. And of course, as you know, we try to have them as honestly as we can here. But we also have to pinpoint that, holy cow, things are about to get a lot worse politically, economically, and socially before they get better. The bigger financial ramifications are a big part of this. The bigger divide and conquer is growing, and it will create more violence. And until we address all of those situations, I think we should be skeptical of any solutions by multinational corporations and politicians who claim to have your best interest at heart, which they usually don't. History tells you that. So yeah, that's my unique take on this situation. If you enjoyed it, if you found it valuable, if this is something that you think other people should know about, well, send it to them. Make sure that they hear this message, because without you, I wouldn't be here, and this is why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.